Hey folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. This is the 2025 Hyundai Santa Cruz, and for 2025, it is updated. We got a new front end and new technology. So I'm going to tell you all about that, and then we're going to discuss the fact that even though this isn't the only compact pickup truck on the market, it still feels pretty unique in the segment, and I'm going to go over exactly why right now. Let's take a look at the powertrain. So we have the upgraded powertrain here. That is a turbocharged 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine. It's making 281 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through an 8-speed dual clutch transmission. You can also get a naturally aspirated version of this engine in lower trim models. So as I already mentioned, one of the big updates for 2025 is the front end. We have a whole new front fascia here. We have new wheel designs as well, and a new daytime running light design. To my eye, it's actually a little more squared off, a little bulkier looking, and I like it. But let me turn it back to you right now. Why don't you just drop in the comments and let me know what you think of the updated styling here on the Santa Cruz. Now let's go over the business end of this Santa Cruz right here. So first of all, we'll pop the tailgate. You do have a damped gate, which is nice. And then you do get this really slick integrated tonneau cover, which is handy. I mean, you can see we're out here in the elements. It's been snowing quite a bit the last week, and it has been nice to have this. So to open it up, you push that latch, and there it goes. And then there's actually a strap that Hyundai has installed here, which you can keep latched back at the rear of your bed, and then you can always grab onto it and close it. So definitely like the tonneau. However, I'll show you the downside, and to me, that's all of this space up here. This is eating up, I don't know, a foot of your bed. So if you were to put something tall in here, let's say you're hauling a fridge, you'd want that to be all the way up, pushed against the bed wall. Well, you can't do that. It's going to be hitting this tonneau. So I like it, but it also does take away some of your space up here. It's something to be aware of. Now the bed overall here, not massive. Between those wheel wells up there, you're getting just about 42 inches. I'll throw up all the dimensions here. But I've got a couple things in here which I think are sort of indicative of the types of things you might want to haul with your bed. I got some snowshoes. I might go snowshoeing after this. They fit great in there. And if they do get wet or muddy or dirty, I don't feel bad tossing them in the bed. I also have a roof shovel right there because I had to go shovel off some roofs up at the cottage recently because there's so much snow here. But that's, again, the kind of thing where even though I know that would probably fit in the trunk of a car, if it gets snowy, dirty, salty, it's nice to just toss it into the bed. And then I also have to show you the one other key storage feature, which is a trunk. Now this is like the Ridgeline, the little trunk underneath the bed floor, but this trunk is much shallower than what's on the Ridgeline. It's not that big. Still kind of nice to have a separation for your space. So not a massive bed, but still plenty big to do all kinds of different things. And then I also have to mention, of course, towing and payload. Now, there's no hitch on this truck, and that's interesting to me too. Even though this is a top trim truck here in Canada, the hitch is still an option. So you have to check that box, and Hyundai Canada just didn't. But if I had a hitch down there, we could pull 5,000 pounds because this truck has all-wheel drive. And now let's go look at the payload. According to the door jamb sticker, you're getting 1,411 pounds of payload. So once again, just like the Ridgeline, an excellent payload number for a truck this small. You might not have a ton of space, but you can haul heavy stuff back there. There's a few other bed features I have to point out here too. First of all, you are getting these sliding cleats, which are able to tie down from. So nice to have that. There's also 4 hard tie downs, 1 in each corner. And then down here, you actually get a little storage bin. There's one on both sides of the bed, but in this bin, you also have a plug. So you're getting power down there. It's just 150 watts. Still nice to have some kind of power at the back of your truck. And you can also see, yes, LED lighting down in the bed. Let's take a look at the back seats right now, and I wanted to start like this, folded up, so you could see the storage. You get this big, hard plastic storage bin down here. They actually put the jack in over there on the passenger side too. So you're not getting a big flat floor, but it's still a pretty decent amount of storage when these seat bottoms are up. Then we can throw them down. The seat back does not come forward, just so you know that. Now, talking about baby seats, we have 2 lower latch positions, and then we have 3 top tethers along the back, so that's decent. Now I'll hop in. This is 36.5 inches of rear seat legroom. This is my driving position, so you always have to be fair and say this could be pushed a little further forward. And it's basically just enough, although yeah, my knees are a little bit into this seat. So if I was driving, I would definitely have to scooch up. That being said, headroom's actually pretty decent for such a small truck. I'm not hitting at all, and I stand at 6'2", and my knees don't feel too tall or anything. So yeah, a little bit more to be desired in the knee room, but outside of that, it feels decent. For amenities, all I have down there are 2 USB-C ports, but I do get my own vents back here. And then there's also these cup holders molded right into the door, and I appreciate that as well. All right, folks, let's test the all-wheel drive here. So I'm out here on a snowy, ice-covered road. It's 1 degree Celsius, so just a hair above freezing. And I like to just put my foot really deep into the throttle and feel what the all-wheel drive system does when it loses traction. So I've got it in drive, just normal mode. And yeah, let's see what happens. Taking off in 3, 2, 1, go. Nice, so this is front wheel drive biased, and you definitely feel it. And that's the one thing I felt sort of on a negative side, is the front wheels really got power quickly, and it did kind of pull me a little bit driver's side. It did feel like I was almost getting torque steer, and then it cut the power and then also rerouted that power to my rear wheels to give you that all-wheel drive. So I would say it took, a beat to react, maybe even a beat longer than I would have liked, but still overall not too bad. But now we're gonna put it into snow mode and see if that changes things, because like usual, that was a reactive all-wheel drive setting. Snow mode is more proactive, so it knows it's gonna be in sloppy conditions. So let's see what happens. Okay, so first you hit the terrain button, so terrain modes come on, and then I get snow, mud, and sand, and we're gonna go up to snow mode. Let that initiate. Okay, snow mode on, and now we take off again in 3, 2, 1, go. Wow, that was a pronounced difference. I don't know how much you're gonna see this on camera, but I'll tell you from behind the wheel, the first thing is it just doesn't lay on the power very quickly. It totally changes the mapping of that throttle pedal, and I had to put my foot really far, basically to the floor, before I really felt it pick up. And then even then, the power was rolled on nice and slowly, and I never felt like I got that front end torque steer. So it rolled on the power even from a standing start, and then it also was obviously sending more power to the rear wheels right from the beginning. So where the first takeoff in normal mode was just a little more dramatic and tires were spinning, that takeoff in snow mode was just super slow and controlled. So sometimes I do this test and I feel like the 2 modes aren't that different, but in this case, I feel like they're significantly different, and if you are driving in sloppy conditions, yeah, you're definitely gonna wanna use that snow mode just to keep things nice and slow, calm, and safe. Let's take a look at the camera system now. So I'm here in park, and there is a physical camera button, so we hit that, and all our camera views come up. And you start off with this cool 3D view, which kind of really shows you around your vehicle. I think this is handy for parking lots, for situations when you're really close to something, gives you a sense for where you are. Plus you're getting that top-down view, which is nice. And then we can roll through all the views. So when it comes to rear, you can get a full screen wide rear view. I love that they use this entire screen. Not all the brands do that. Then you can get a split, the top down, plus that's looking back at your rear wheels. Then you can get, again, the split between rear and the top down. And finally, this is just your top-down rear view, but once again, if you're hitching a trailer, if you're backing into a garage, that could be a handy view to really let you know where the rear end of your vehicle is. And then you get the same array for the front. So that's the nose camera. Again, full screen nose camera. I really like that. We can get, there's the front tires, so down the sides of the truck, plus the top down. That's your nose camera again, and then that top down. And you can see the predictive guidelines as well. They move as you turn your tires. So yeah, a lot of really great views here in this Santa Cruz to make sure you can see all the way around. Okay folks, now we're out here on the open road. Let's feel the power from this Santa Cruz. Stop and foot to the floor. Okay, yeah, it feels all right. All right's definitely the word I would use. You're definitely waiting a beat for that turbo to really kick in and for you to feel maximum power come out of this thing. But once it hits, it definitely hits hard enough. And I think what I do notice is that dual clutch. The shifts are nearly imperceptible, and that's why you want the dual clutch in the first place, is it makes those shifts super quick, way quicker than a traditional automatic transmission. And yeah, that's only a difference of milliseconds, but in the real world, in practice, the way it feels is just smooth, absolutely smooth. So I will give this transmission that. Now on the downside of this dual clutch specifically, because I haven't felt this in every dual clutch, but in this one, this vehicle does have a tendency to roll back. You notice it in a drive-through or in a parking lot or just even around your driveway in a situation where you might just want to move back a little bit. When you do that and then put your foot on the brake, the second you lift, if you're on a hill, this thing will roll. It feels like it's a manual because essentially in that moment, yeah, the transmission is not engaged. So it's not that big a deal. It's just something you always have to be aware of, that if you're stopped on a hill and you lift, you could get a little bit of rollback unless you accelerate right away. So that's sort of the good and the bad of that 8-speed dual clutch. Now, when it comes to the rest of the driving experience, it's easy is, the word I like to use with a vehicle like this. It feels pretty much like Hyundai's other crossovers, just in so much that it's pretty quiet in here. The handling, I wouldn't call it sharp, but it's good enough for just city driving. The one difference I feel is that the steering here is a little bit heavier than what I remember out of a Tucson or even the new Santa Fe. And I feel like that's because some engineer somewhere said, hey, that's a truck. Trucks have heavy steering, so they made the wheel here just a little bit heavier, which is fine. It works okay for me. I don't dislike it. It just feels funny because the rest of the driving experience does not feel like a truck at all. We don't have the leaf springs. You don't have the stiffness out of the suspension you get in the truck. So nothing else sort of feels trucky. It feels very much more like a crossover, except for the steering wheel where someone said, hey, let's add some weight into that thing. But overall, the driving experience is easy. And you know what? It does actually feel pretty comfortable over long drives as well. So no complaints when it comes to the way it drives. On that topic of comfort, I also just want to say that I fit in here totally fine as well. The front seat has plenty of space, even with passengers. I'm not rubbing elbows. And I think it's important to point this out in a compact truck especially, because of course, yeah, this is, one of the smallest trucks you're going to find on the market, but that doesn't mean that especially for front seat passengers, you're going to be jammed in here. This thing, feels plenty comfortable, and it feels just as comfortable as any other mid-size truck on the market when it comes to headroom, legroom, everything else like that up front. Now let me speak to the other changes that arrived for 2025, and it's mostly technology. The big feature you're going to notice right away is this massive curved panoramic screen. The driver's display and the center stack display are kind of all one huge screen, and Hyundai actually lists them each at 12.3 inches. So yeah, you're just getting a lot of screen up here. And this was introduced in other Hyundai models and now has just been brought over here to the Santa Cruz. but I like it. I do think it looks nice. The nice thing about having the fully digital driver display especially is that it's customizable. You can change the information you're getting, you can change the way it looks, you can really change a lot about it. So I do like having everything fully digital, and I think it does add to the air of sort of luxury and technology that you're getting in this cabin. Now, outside of that, there's a couple other changes, like the air vents were changed, the steering wheel was changed. So yeah, some little things, but the big thing really is that screen. Now, there's one new safety system I have to tell you about too. Now, of course, there's a whole suite of safety systems here. So I do have, adaptive cruise, and I do have lane keep assist, and that's all operated off the steering wheel. But no, what I want to tell you about is forward alert warning. So this little sensor is watching my eyes, and if I don't pay attention enough, it gets mad at me. The problem is that I like to drink coffee, and sometimes I kind of linger here with my coffee cup. I just sort of hold it there while I'm driving, thinking about my life, and then boom, forward attention warning system limited. I get it, it's watching my eyes, and suddenly it can't see them, so it gets mad. But I gotta tell you guys, the amount of times that what to me felt totally normal, just drinking my coffee like I normally do, and the vehicle was getting mad at me, it was just frustrating. So what can I say? I don't want to ever down talk a safety system. I do think drivers are probably way too distracted today, so I understand why that's there, but I also think it's too sensitive, and of course it doesn't have the context of I'm not looking around, I'm not looking away, I'm just trying to have a drink. So overall, yeah, this one I struggle with. I'm happy to see more safety, but I got to tell you that system to me has just been super annoying. And if I owned this thing, I would just turn it off. Same goes for the lane keep. And I say this in a lot of videos. Here in this Hyundai, when I have that lane keep assist on, it's constantly tugging at the wheel. It's constantly putting torque into the steering wheel. And to me, it actually makes the driving experience just more onerous. I have one more thing that I have to pay attention to because the vehicle's always fighting me to be in a different part of the lane. After a couple minutes, I always get frustrated and shut that off too. Now, that's not just a Hyundai problem, that's across the board. But yeah, those issues are definitely here in the Hyundai too. So nice to see the safety systems. I just feel like we're in a weird age where they're a little overbearing, and because they don't have context of really what's going on, they can come across just as annoying more than anything. One word on the all-wheel drive. You guys saw me do sort of the snowy takeoff test, and I did like snow mode. I think it worked pretty well. However, the all-wheel drive in general, to me, seems a little simple. And I say that because we were just in a bunch of Honda products, including the Ridgeline. And in the Ridgeline, you could see the active torque vectoring actually working. There's a power distribution screen. We have one here in the Hyundai too, and it tells you which wheel is receiving the power. And in those Honda products, when I was going through a snowy corner, I could see them actively sending more power to the outside to help those things rotate. From behind the wheel, you could feel it as well. This Hyundai, I've seen nothing of the sort. The power distribution is very simple. It doesn't seem to go side to side whatsoever. Generally, it's front wheel drive, which is fine. If I was to floor it right now, you can see the rears get a little bit of power, which is what you'd expect. So yeah, just overall, the all-wheel drive has been working fine in day-to-day. I just feel like some other systems on the market are a little more advanced, and that's going to make the driving experience a little more confident. So we've looked at all the kind of specific details of this product and talked about how it drives, but I just want to zoom out for a little bit for a second and talk about how it fits into the marketplace. And I think that there's a lot of good things about the Santa Cruz, but there's sort of two major issues with it. And the first one is very simple. It's the Ford Maverick. If the Hyundai Santa Cruz had have been released years before the Maverick, I think it would have done a lot better because it would have been in a class of one. Anyone looking for a proper compact truck would have only had the Hyundai as an option. But because the Santa Cruz and the Maverick launched in the exact same year at the exact same time, I think the Maverick just ate the Hyundai's lunch because honestly, anybody looking for a truck, a lot of those people, especially here in North America, they're gonna skew towards a Ford. And the Maverick is a great product too, don't let me take away from it. But just in general, I think because it has that Ford badge on the hood, a lot more buyers went there. And that's what the numbers back up to. The Maverick sold 130,000 units, just a little over that, in 2024. The Santa Cruz here only sold about 32,000 units in the States. That's not even as much as the Ridgeline. The Ridgeline did nearly 45,000 units in the States. So yes, it's a niche product. It's a small little slice of the pie when you look at the overall truck market. So the one issue I think it has is just the fact that it released at the same time as Ford. And then the other issue, and this is especially apparent here in Canada, is that it's kind of priced and being billed as a more premium product, a little bit more upmarket. And again, in the Canadian market, yeah, it starts in the mid 40,000, and then the one you see in this video is $50,000, a little bit above that actually. And it just feels expensive for what it is. Now, we don't get the base trim. We don't get the front wheel drive version. That's all available in the States. So yeah, in America, there's a little bit more of a value proposition. But even just the way it feels when you get in here, it feels like it's sort of luxury and tech focused. And I'm just not sure that's what customers are always looking for in a truck. So, you know, because of the positioning in the market and then also the competition, I never expect the Santa Cruz to really sell in any greater numbers than it already does. Now I'm gonna throw one last idea out there, and hopefully Hyundai is listening. There's already a plug-in hybrid system in the Tucson. They should bring it here to the Santa Cruz. I get it, I just argued that it's a niche product, but if this was a plug-in hybrid, you'd be the only small plug-in hybrid pickup truck on the market. You could really sort of corner that bit of the segment, and I think that a small truck makes sense to have some type of electrification because it's already light and efficient. So a plug-in hybrid Santa Cruz sounds pretty enticing. Now we just got to keep asking Hyundai for it, and maybe one day they'll bring it out. I said the Santa Cruz is efficient. Well, how efficient? In my time with it, I'm getting 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which feels like a really good fuel economy number when you consider the power it's putting out is comparable to a Ridgeline or some of those other mid-sized trucks, and more than what you're getting out of the Ford Maverick. So yeah, that 9.6 liters per 100 feels pretty good. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this one. Now, I have to tell you, after living with this Santa Cruz, I definitely like it, but I think we have to recognize it is a niche vehicle. It's never going to be setting massive new sales records, and that's okay, because if you are the right customer, a customer looking for a technology-filled interior, a small but functional bed, and then a driving experience that's easy like a crossover, well, that's exactly what the Santa Cruz offers. Now, of course, I need to hear from you. Drop into the comments. Let me know what you think of this compact Hyundai pickup truck. And as always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.